Grab your coffee, kick up your feet. It is time for a Friday fun day. That's right. Yahoo Sports Daily right here. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. You might be watching us on YouTube. We love that. We love the comments. Get in there. Start yelling at us right away. You might be watching us on the Yahoo Sports networks. You can check us out across all your free ad-supported TV networks and obviously yahoosports.tv. We love that you're hanging out with us today and every day. Caroline Fenton, I'm Jason Fitz. Caroline, my friend, let's start today like we do every day. 3 points. What is on your mind?
Well, first of all, Fitz has had a new shirt. It's very nice.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
I like it.
I dressed very proper today. Thank you.
Look at you, Fancy Friday. I love
Collars
it.
and Co. Let's go. Collars
and Co. Shouts out. All right, let's get into it. A little bit of news before we head into a weekend of football. We are back, but some bad news. Jalen Polk with the New England Patriots is out for the season. He's been fighting for a roster spot in his second year in the league, but unfortunately that campaign will be cut short after injuring his shoulder during the Patriots' first preseason game against the Commanders. He will undergo surgery on that shoulder, and as you see there, he will miss the entire 2025 season. And you hate this for anyone. You don't wish for injury for any player in any sport, but especially a guy who was a high second-round draft pick, who had a whole lot of hopes, who thought that in second year was going to have a bounce-back season, especially with a new regime and a new coaching staff coming into New England. So I hate that for Jalen Polk and, really hope for a bounce-back 2026 season. But let's transition to the Patriots and what this means for them. Frankly, I don't think anybody in New England should be hitting the panic button. I mean, Jalen Polk was in jeopardy of potentially losing his roster spot in training camp after very little production in his rookie year. He caught just 12 of his 33 attempted passes that went his way, for 87 yards and 2 touchdowns on the season. Plus, the Patriots wide receiver room, while it may not have the sexiest names in the National Football League, they have several options, right? Stephon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte, Mac Hollins, Demario Douglas. Not sexy, but still, hey, plenty of options and depth at that position. So we wish Jalen Polk nothing but a quick and very safe recovery.
Yeah, welcome to the era of Mike Vrabel, also in New England, where he's made it clear they're going to find the rat that leaked this to the world. So welcome to Braves, New England. All right, let me get to the first point that's on my mind, and maybe it's the Pointer Sisters, because I'm singing I'm so excited for a preseason football game. Yes, that's true. It's happening. Jalen Milroe is playing the entire game for the Seattle Seahawks. Now, some of you might be rolling your eyes and saying, good God, how could you be excited about preseason football? I'm excited because, frankly, we all understood the assignment the day that Jalen Milroe was drafted. In fact, I would argue that maybe the Seahawks understood the assignment in ways the Colts never did with Anthony Richardson. What they understood in Seattle is that Jalen Milroe was going to be the sort of guy that they could see what they have over time. This is going to be likely, presuming everyone stays healthy, knock on wood, hopefully, the last time we actually see Jalen Milroe playing meaningful snaps at the quarterback position until next offseason, right? So any chance to see what he looks like, remembering that his athleticism has never been in question. I fully expect throughout the course of the year, the Seahawks are going to find innovative ways to use Milroe throughout the course of the season to create mismatches in different packages. I think he's still going to play snaps that matter for Seattle. But when it comes to actually working on the quarterback position overall and what he can look like as maybe a future quarterback for the Seahawks, this is our last chance to see anything. And he's going to get the entire game, which means he gets flow, he gets reps, he gets all of those things that I think truly matter. We have to understand, as much as we live in this society that's trying to microwave the progression of guys like Dillon Gabriel and SHEDEUR SANDERS, what I want to see is slow and low. I want Jalen Milroe to be treated like a barbecue championship of the world where it takes good time and you just got to wait for things to develop. I understand that Jalen Milroe this weekend won't make a big difference to what Seattle Seahawks fans expect throughout the course of the year, but it makes a big difference long-term every time he gets on the field. I am so excited. I would sing the song, but we can't afford the rights. I'm so excited that Jalen Milroe will be playing for Seattle this weekend, Caroline, which brings us to our big point, our number one point. Shocking. Our big point is, I don't know, drama in Dallas. Look, some shows put the capital J in journalism, right? Like they want to come out and give you just the facts. And we like to do a lot of that. We strive to make everybody smarter. But this show today is going to put the capital D in drama, the big D in drama, because there's always drama in Dallas. So let's take a look at some of the biggest storylines happening throughout the course of Dallas and figure out what level of drama we're giving it. So we start with with Jerry Jones and America's team, right? So we start with the Jerry versus Micah drama. And this is where everybody is right now. Everybody's trying to figure out what's going to happen. Jerry Jones, Micah Parsons. And Jerry Jones went on Michael Irvin's podcast last night and made it very clear that when they presented an offer he thought that had been agreed to, the agent for Micah Parsons told him to stick it up his rear end. And I'm saying that more politely than he did on Micah. So looking at the level of drama that we put, like what level of D and drama are we putting on this one, Caroline Fenton?
It's such unnecessary drama. It's unnecessary D. That's exactly what this is. The Jerry and Micah, off-season chronicles, total and complete unnecessary D. Because why can't we just figure out a resolution here when it's really, really obvious to all of us what's already going to happen or what we think will happen? Because it's what happened with CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jones during his contract negotiations last season. This is what happened with Dak Prescott and Jerry Jones and their contract negotiations the years before. And this is what happened with Ezekiel Elliott and Jerry Jones even before all of that. So we now have 3 sample sizes just in the last few years of Jerry Jones trying to drag out these contract negotiations as long as humanly possible. It's unnecessary. We all know, or at least I expect, and I'm willing to bet a whole lot of money, that at the end of all of this, Micah Parsons is a Dallas Cowboy and will be for the foreseeable future, and he will be the highest paid non-quarterback in the National Football League. I know it, Fitz, you know it. I think everybody listening knows it. I think it's clear to everybody in America who's following this situation that that is going to be what the case is. So why all of this drama? Why all of the scrubbing your social media of anything Dallas Cowboys related? Why is Jerry Jones going on Michael Irvin's podcast? Which, to be honest with you, I didn't even know that Michael Irvin had a podcast, but now I know. So why are we going on the podcast? And you see it right there, Micah Parsons on his Twitter. TBD, where it used to say Dallas Cowboys, it now says TBD, and you can see it. He changed his profile photo. He changed his header on Twitter to a photo of him at Penn State, where both of those photos used to be Dallas Cowboys related. This isn't the first time that we've seen a player scrub their social media of anything from their teams in contract negotiations, but all of it fits. It's all such unnecessary D, unnecessary drama when we all know how this situation is going to be resolved. And it's going to be Micah in Dallas.
Okay, so to me, this is the huge D in drama. Okay, huge D in drama. But I'm about to get a little controversial. Just stick with me here. I'm starting to think this isn't all Jerry Jones' fault. And I know that everybody wants to pile on Jerry Jones. But this morning, I was watching Get Up, and I was listening to Dan Graziano talk a little bit about the negotiations and more of the Michael Irvin process, right? And when you listen to what Jerry Jones said to Michael Irvin, he made it clear that he sat down one-on-one with Micah Parsons. That's not new reporting. But he also made it clear that he sat down and discussed numbers with Micah Parsons. In fact, part of the reason he was offended that the agent told him to stick it up his rear end is because he felt he'd already moved in negotiations with Micah. That Jerry Jones feels that he and Micah Parsons talked specific numbers, and they actually did a negotiation together that was then presented to his agent. At this point, I need to hear from Micah Parsons. Like, that's a different allegation than we've heard anywhere through this process of he said, she said throughout the course of this negotiation. For Jerry Jones to come out and say, hey, we talked specific dollars, he's talked a little about that. But when he actually lays it out for you, Graziano pointed out today, yes, that Dak Prescott had to go to dinner with Jerry Jones. Okay, but they didn't talk numbers. Zeke and Jerry didn't talk specific numbers. I have an agent now in sports media. I had an agent in music. I cannot imagine if I sat down with the bosses at Yahoo and I came to an agreement with the bosses of Yahoo and then they went and presented it to my agent told them to shove it up their rear end. I'd be irritated too. If in the music business, when we were touring all over the world, if I sat down with the promoter and said, you know what? I'll play that show for $100,000. And then our agent came in and said, no. He wants $200,000. It would ruin the relationship with that promoter. We have spent so much time trying to figure out where Jerry's in the wrong, but we haven't heard Micah specifically come back and talk about this. I need to know from Micah Parsons' mouth, not from his agent, not from Jerry. I've got to hear the other side of the story because right now it certainly feels to me like if they did sit down and come to some sort of an agreement financially, I understand why Jerry's pissed off. And I'm with you. I don't see Micah playing anywhere else, but it's hard for me to blame Jerry if Micah did, in fact, sit down with him one-on-one, man-to-man, and say, yes, that's the money I want. Yes, that's the terms I want. Yes, that's all good. take it to my agent. There's something we all know if you've ever had an agent. The minute somebody starts talking money, you say, whew, there's like a stock answer that I've said a million times in my life. Man, I would love to do this. This sounds awesome to me. I don't really handle the numbers. So you got to talk to my agent. Like, that's normal. If Micah didn't do that, I have a hard time, Caroline, putting all of this blame just on Jerry.
But in fair, how many contract negotiations has Micah Parsons done himself? One. How many contract negotiations has Jerry Jones done as the owner and general manager of the Dallas Cowboys? Hundreds, if not close to thousands. So isn't Jerry Jones kind of culpable in this as well? Of, look, Micah Parsons doesn't, I don't think, needs to explicitly say, well, I need to talk to my agent first. If Jerry Jones isn't willing to negotiate or talk with the agent, or even have the agent try and push for a little bit of, extra on the top for Micah Parsons, I kind of put that on Jerry Jones. Because of course Micah Parsons wants his agent to be involved. Of course he wants his agent to do some of the negotiating with him. And so he is up to date and abreast of all of the information that Micah Parsons and Jerry Jones discussed and negotiated and agreed to, if we're going to take Jerry Jones at what he said face value. I also don't know if we can take everything that Jerry Jones says at face value. Because in every negotiation in life, and especially in sports, there is his side, there is the other side, and then there is the truth. And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. That Jerry Jones's perspective of the situation, or the way that he wants to kind of paint the situation publicly, is one thing. Micah Parsons has a completely different bottom line, as does David Mulugeta, his agent. And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. And look, David Mulugeta is an incredibly accomplished and successful agent in the National Football League. I mean, he's negotiated hundreds of contracts himself. He is Deshaun Watson's representation. He's Jordan Love's representation. I mean, he represents so many players in this league and has gotten done so many contracts in this league. I mean, he even represents George Pickens, Micah Parsons' teammate in Dallas, who just agreed to a new deal. So there's one common denominator here. It's not David Mulugeta. It's not Micah Parsons. It's Jerry Jones. Now, is this 100% on Jerry Jones? No, it's never 100% on anyone in any kind of situation like this, or at least in most situations like this. But if I have to, chop up the blame pie here, I'm giving Jerry Jones the biggest slice of them all.
I got to at least hear Micah's side. All right, let's get to the next piece of drama, and we'll figure out what level of D and drama we're putting for this. Jerry versus Jimmy, okay? Because we've got the documentary out there everybody's paying attention to, and Jeff Pearlman, who literally wrote a book about the Cowboys, is out here screaming about the fact that Jerry's trying to take credit for the Herschel Walker trade when that was all Jimmy's credit. What level of D and drama are you putting on this?
Oh, Jerry just needs to get over this D. Jimmy needs to get over this D. This is old D, old drama. I'm over it. I mean, it's now, decades old, Fitz. I'm not worried about this, D. It's old. Get over it.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's old, and frankly, like, who cares? At this point, who cares who gets the credit for any of it? Like, for most of us sitting around, especially if you're a Cowboys fan, you care a lot more if your team actually wins a football game than you do about what happened back when Herschel Walker was traded. Like, I'm the old man on this show, and I barely remember when Herschel Walker was traded. So let's just calm it down on whether or not this D and drama actually means anything. What about Deion Sanders? I like this, a little bit of Deion drama. Deion versus humility, let's say. In the Netflix docuseries drama, he said he's the reason the Cowboys didn't three-peat in the 90s. I love this quote. You're darn right. I'm the reason, the season, the treason. What level in D and drama do you give this one?
Oh, gosh, I just love Deion Sanders. That's some prime time D. That is some prime D, because Deion Sanders is the exact same now that he was then, and I love it. I don't think Deion is ever going to want to stir up drama, but drama does seem to follow him wherever he goes, and he just throws a little bit of gasoline in the fire every single time, and I'm here for it.
Oh, Coach Prime is basically like a Real Housewife. He says he doesn't want the drama, but also loves the drama. I give this legendary D. It's legendary D in drama. I would expect nothing less from Prime than to just come in and understand and to rhyme it too. I'm the reason, the season, the treason. I don't even think he had that pre-written, which makes it even more impressive. What about this level of drama? Brian Schottenheimer versus himself. Because look, Shoddy, the new head coach, Cowboys have looked shoddy to say the least. See what I did there? Coming into the season, what's the level of drama, D and drama here for Schottenheimer versus Schottenheimer, considering how the Cowboys have looked?
I don't need this D. Okay. There's enough D in Dallas. There's enough drama going on with everything else, with Jerry and the Jones family and Micah Parsons and the team and the roster. And now with the America's Team docuseries coming out, it's uncovering all of this, old 90s and early 2000s D. Brian Schottenheimer, love you, bud, but I don't need your D.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I said it originally. It's like small D because it's a little bit of drama. I mean, the Cowboys look terrible in the preseason. That's a little bit of drama, but it's also sort of useless D to me. All the same, useless D and drama because of all the things that we have to worry about. I will point out all of the hand wringing and all of the oh my god, the Cowboys haven't looked good enough. It's the preseason, y'all. Like, if you are a good football team, the preseason doesn't matter. If you are a bad football team, the preseason doesn't matter. It only matters because we're so football starved as a society that we're trying to fall in love based on like a Tinder profile. Just keep swiping. It's going to be fine. Like, go on a date, figure it out. Week one's right around the corner. Who cares how your team looks right now? This is useless small D and drama. Let's get one more in here because speaking of Netflix series, we've got a Netflix series coming back. America's Sweetheart, Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, coming back for their third season in 2026. People love it. I mean, to come back for a third season for Netflix means people love it. So congratulations. But what's the level in D and drama we're putting for the Dallas Cowboy cheerleader series returning?
Oh, it is huge drama. This may be the most important D of all in Dallas. I mean, if you have not watched this show, please give yourself an hour. Just watch one. Oh, I mean, obviously the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders are iconic. The brand is probably one of the biggest ones, if not the biggest one in terms of cheerleaders in the National Football League. But the behind the scenes, the drama, the backstabbing, everything that it takes to make this team. Oh, it's the most important D, the most important and biggest drama of them all, Fitzy.
Oh, it's itty bitty teeny weensy tiny D in drama for me. Like,
You haven't even watched it. You can't even say.
Look, I'm going to give a take that people aren't going to like, Caroline Fenton, and I'm going to die on this hill. I'm going to plant this flag. NFL cheerleaders are useless. Like, I'm sorry. I love cheerleaders at the college level and what it brings for the atmosphere and all of those things, right? But if we're being real, if they eliminated cheerleading from the sideline of NFL games, how many fewer season tickets would be sold to any football game? I understand that, at some point it's ambassadors outside of that trying to bring people to the sport, all of those different things. Fine. All of it, to me, it just engages creepy dudes in the stands it doesn't need to engage. It doesn't actually bring in additional fans. Like, it's just NFL cheerleading to me. Look, I respect everybody that does it. I just think if it was eliminated, people would scream about it for about a month, and then we would forget it ever existed.
They're not there to sell season tickets. They're not there to completely uproot and change the organization and bring in tens of millions of dollars. It's a fun thing, and I'm here for it.
I'm over here yucking the yum. Caroline Fenton will not do that. We know that. All right. Speaking of yucking the yum, it's college football season. It is actually underway. Is Bill Belichick taking shots at Robert Kraft? We'll talk about it next on Yahoo Sports Daily. Bill Belichick on the difference between coaching in NFL versus college. It's a lot of football, and there's not much in your way. There's no owner. There's no owner's son. The saga continues. That is, I mean, those are scathing words from Bill Belichick, obviously throwing some shade. We'll get some insight now from our own Ross Dellinger joining us. You can check out the College Football Inquirer podcast here on yahoosports.tv if you're hanging out with us. Ross, appreciate the early morning time. What do you make of Belichick and the shade that he's throwing over there to Kraft?
Yeah, I don't know. I was just there. I was just in Chapel Hill a couple of days ago, meeting with him for a story maybe next week. They did not come up the shade that he's been throwing, but he seems to be very much enjoying sort of being able to control his own or make his own decisions, in college, which he has like full control pretty much over that building. And you can kind of tell.
And maybe some of those decisions that he's making aren't the best ones. I don't know, but it'll be at least an interesting saga to follow over in Chapel Hill. There was some news that came out yesterday. The SEC is officially adding a 9th conference game in 2026. Obviously, the ACC plays 9 conference games. The Big Ten plays 9 conference games. The SEC, for a very long time, has played 8. And I know that all SEC fans everywhere will be, very okay with this, not at all upset, not at all, up in arms. Everyone's going to be very measured with all of this. How did we get to this point? Because I've heard from several SEC coaches that were very against adding that 9th conference game. How did we get to this point, and what does this mean in the bigger picture?
Yeah, I mean, I think this has been a debate that's been going on in the SEC for a long, long time. Since Texas and Oklahoma entered the league 4 years ago or so, or announced they were entering the league 4 years ago, this debate has sort of been going on seriously, but really you could go back like 10 years. I mean, they've been talking about going to nine games. And I think there was some momentum in the spring for it, and then it felt like it kind of died, mostly because, as you mentioned, coaches came out publicly against it at SEC meetings, and also against the playoff format that the Big Ten had originally proposed, the 4-4-2-2 automatic playoff format, and they came out against that. And so that sort of shifted the momentum away from going to 9, and then boom, this week they decided to do it. And I think it's for really a couple reasons. Well, first of all, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey's been trying to get sort of the athletic director room and the coaches room to 9 games, to vote for 9 games for a while now. He's been in support of it. One, I think ESPN came with more money, right, for SEC schools, upwards of $5 million a year, and for per school. 2, I think this helps with sort of the college football playoff future format discussions. The SEC wants more access. They want an expanded playoff beyond 12. Specifically, the focus is 16, and the Big Ten has said that it will not agree, because the 2 conferences have to agree for anything to pass. And the Big Ten has said, they won't agree if the SEC stays at 8 games and, the Big Ten's at 9, that they will not agree on a future format of the 16-team 5 plus 11, 5 AQs and then 11 at large. So now maybe there's some movement. Maybe we'll get some movement, just ease playoff talks a little bit. So those are probably like the biggest reasons, is the money and sort of the future format of the playoff.
Ross, why not? Look, I'm a playoff purist here. I don't really care how many teams there are. I'll be honest. I don't care if there's 30 teams. I don't care. What I want are the best teams. Why not just have a playoff system that doesn't guarantee anybody the bids, and just the best? What if it's 12, if it's 16, if it's 20, let the best walk in.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because Sankey of the SEC has argued for years that is his preference, that he would run the top 12 or the top 16, so no AQs. I think if you do that, you put all the decision in the hands of a selection committee that certainly is subjective and is prone to human error and opinions and all that stuff. And I think, at least from sort of the Big Ten side, they've been pushing all these proposals that include a lot of automatic qualifiers for schools, kind of like an NFL model. And I think part of that is to remove the subjectivity of the selection committee. So that would be probably the main issue people would have with sort of that format. The other issue would be, there's been a lot of separation between these leagues. And so if you don't have at least one automatic qualifier for some of these conferences, they may not get a team in. And you might think that's okay, right? Because they don't have a good enough team. They don't deserve to be in. And I understand that argument, but the other side of the argument is it's better for the sort of the country nationally if everybody gets at least some kind of access into the playoff.
And look, I know that over the summer when we don't have football, we all kind of freak out about the potential changes that are coming. And then once football happens, it's like, okay, great. We don't have to worry about any of that anymore. We can actually talk about football, and we will get that tomorrow in Ireland. When the preseason poll came out, a lot of the pushback was, well, Texas is the number one team in the country. That doesn't feel right. They're bringing a new quarterback in. And my rebuttal to that was, well, who do you feel like should be the number one team in the country? Because if you look in the entire top 10, even top 15 good teams, but all with major question marks. So instead of rankings, let's look at trust. Who would you trust the most right now going into the regular season?
I think Penn State's got to be up there. They're ranked in most of the polls, like top 2 or 3. But I think when you look at that, they're bringing back a very experienced quarterback in Drew Aller. They've got Jim Knowles, a defensive coordinator. They took him from Ohio State, and then they return quite a bit defensively. They did lose some key players, but they returned both their running backs as well. They went into the transfer portal for some receivers, which has been an issue in that program for quite some time. And so I think if you look at sort of more of a veteran team, experienced team, when I think about trust, I think about more veteran experienced. And so that would be the team for me that I probably trust more than most. There's another Big Ten team too that's sort of under the radar a little bit that I would trust, that's returning a lot of key players, including quarterback, and that's Illinois, actually. Illinois finished 9-3 last year. Probably should have been considered more for the playoff than they were. A lot of people talk about the SEC schools, Alabama, South Carolina, Ole Miss, but Illinois was right there. And so I think Illinois is another program you could maybe trust. And then I would say the third one is the one down in Athens, Georgia, just because where they've been, right? That program has been winning back-to-back national titles, and what kind of coach Kirby Smart is, and that maybe they're not as talented as they used to be because they can't stockpile talent in this sort of new era like in the past. But I would say I would trust them as well.
All right, so you've got a piece out with Rich Rod in West Virginia, and it's interesting. You said Rich wants to teach a, quote, soft generation how to be tough. So what did that mean to you when you heard that?
Yeah, I think Rich is 62, right? So he's he's kind of an old school guy, and he coaches in that style, in that way. And I think the new TikTok generation, the Generation Z, whatever they want to call it, I think to him, the players are just young people, I guess, in general. This is his words, are more entitled these days. And so he's sort of trying to for lack of a better phrase, beat the entitlement out of them, or run the entitlement out of them, and in trying to get them to play harder, to play faster, to play tougher. And in a world where you have athletes getting a lot of money, some of them getting millions of dollars, that changes sort of people. Money changes people, right? As one coach mentioned to me recently, it changes coaches. It changes coaches, not in a good way. We've had examples of that, certainly. And so I think coaches themselves are trying to get players not to not to change too much in this new world and to focus on the task at hand. It's sort of getting harder and harder.
Before we let you go, Ross, Urban Meyer said on his podcast, and why Urban Meyer has a podcast, I do not know. But he did say on his podcast that the NFL should suspend Jim Harbaugh for the NCAA violations at Michigan, the Connor Stallions of it all. To that, you say fair, unfair?
I know that it would never happen. Let's put it that way, right? The NFL in the past has shown that it does not care at all about what has happened, what you did, what a coach did in college, and it doesn't seem to acknowledge much of college rules or rule breaking. We've seen that plenty in the past. So I certainly don't think the NFL is going to do anything. And I don't know that it should, as far as like getting back to your question, fair or unfair. I mean, these are two different organizations and associations with very different rules. Now, I will say, a lot of college coaches who have gotten a little trouble in college and then moved to the NFL have normally gotten in trouble in college for paying players in some way, compensating athletes and breaking those rules. The rule breaking in Michigan was a little different. Right, it was sort of like on the field rule breaking with the advanced scouting and all that stuff. So I guess there maybe is an argument to that he should suffer some kind of penalty in the NFL, but don't hold your breath on that one.
Yeah, I think the sooner that fans everywhere just realize they're two completely separate entities that really have nothing to do with each other, the easier it becomes to understand why they act like two completely separate entities. Ross, appreciate you hanging out with us early this morning, my friend. Everybody check out the College Inquirer podcast. Obviously, check us out. Check him out on yahoosports.tv. Appreciate your time, my friend. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ross.
Thanks, guys.
College Football Inquirer podcast, one of our best, one of our favorites. All right. We've talked a little bit of college football with Ross. It's time for us to talk a little bit of college football on our own, but we're going to give you the bold takes, the spicy takes, the heat check coming up next. Off your rocker? Yeah, maybe we've gone a little crazy, but we'll give you some wild predictions for the college football season next. Welcome back to Yahoo Sports Daily. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz, and the joy down in our hearts is because college football is upon us. It's back. College football season starts this weekend with actual games that matter. Farmageddon is this weekend. Time for our boldest takes. Not just bold. Like, look, these are the sorts of things that we're going to get clipped off and we're going to get murdered for. Like the boldest takes possible. Something that will make you look at Caroline Fenton and myself and say, you're off your rocker. In fact, Director Josh, you know what that means. Let's hit the graphics and look all fancy. God, that's good. That is so. I still look like Woody from Toy Story with the cowboy hat on. Like I look like Woody from Toy Story with the cowboy hat on. I can admit that. That's fine. All right. So
we all love Woody from Toy Story. He's a favorite in the movie
Buzz
in the
so
series.
Much better than Woody. Like nobody wants to be Woody. You want to be Buzz Lightyear. You want to be like helmet up and away. Nobody wants to be.
But cowboys are chic these days. Western's very in. So you're just going with the trends and with the style. It's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah. Couldn't have been in when I was playing country music. Okay, so this is what we're doing. We are doing the boldest of all takes, like the sort of take that will make everybody say, what did she just say, and get us killed on the internet. So, Caroline Fenton, because I'm a coward, I'll let you go first with your boldest take. What do you got for us?
Well, first of all, college football being back makes me feel like the Undertaker, that I'm just coming back to life, rising out of the coffin. I'm getting my personality back. But I will start with one of my boldest takes of the year. I don't know what has happened to me, but all of a sudden, Fitz, I have become an absolute bobo for the Big 12. I have fallen in love with the Big 12. It is such a fun and exciting brand of football. So my take is that we will have 3 Big 12 teams this year in the 12-team college football playoff. That's correct. As many Big 12 teams this year as we had SEC teams last year. And I will even go as far to say who those teams will be. Arizona State will repeat and head right back to the college football playoff. Cam Scatterbo, we love him, but Sam Levitt, year 2 as a starter, is stepping right back in. Jordan Tyson, their wide receiver, comes back and is healthy. So I think Arizona State picks up right where they left off last year. I think Kansas State finds themselves in the college football playoff this year. Avery Johnson comes in year 2. Austin Romaine, that is a name that you will be hearing a lot of this upcoming season. One of the best linebackers in all of college football. And I will throw Texas Tech in there as well. Throw the tortillas. They are heading to the CFP. Texas Tech has sneakily and I think quietly been building a really talented roster. They're investing so much money into this football team. There is so much money in this fan base being invested into Texas Tech athletics as a whole. Nashri Kennedy in the softball side of things, she became the first $1 million player in softball. So if they're investing millions into softball, can you only imagine how much they're investing into the football program? So I am totally and completely bought into the Big 12 this season, and I think they get more representation this year than they ever have in a college football playoff field.
Do you realize, of course you realize, how important that moment would be for the conference? Like, we are at this tipping point every time that we have the new version of the college football playoff where we're trying to figure out what conferences can actually remain relevant. And we're spending so much time trying to figure out how to rip teams out of conferences to put them into super conferences that we forget that there's money being invested by these programs to remain relevant right where they are. Like, the goal of many of these Big 12 teams is not to utilize their Big 12 platform to get to a super conference with the SEC or the Big 10. It's to turn around and say, hey, no, we are here and we are going to be a dominant portion of this conversation. There's so much money in Big 12 schools. It's just a matter of getting everything right. This feels like that fork in the road for the conference. If they get 3 teams in the college football playoff this year, it becomes immediately a statement that, hey, this isn't 2 conferences and everybody else. As a lover of college football and as a lover of covering it, that's great for the game, Caroline. Like, I want this to happen simply because I think it shuts down some of the conversation we're having right now where we start to feel like college football is really a 2-horse race.
And Brett Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12, I think deserves a whole lot of praise, because when we went through the most recent edition of conference realignment, when Washington and Oregon and USC and UCLA left the Pac-12 to go to the Big 10, I think a lot of people expected the Big 12 to kind of be that next domino to fall, that we didn't really see a world where the Big 12 and the Pac-12 could survive in a Power 5 conference league along with the ACC and the Big 10 and the SEC. But the Big 12 was incredibly strategic. They locked in some of their TV deals, then locking in millions of dollars for their respective member teams. And Brett Yormark said last season that he believed that the Big 12 was the deepest conference in all of college football. And I think a lot of people poked fun at him, like, oh, really? You think you're the best? He never said best. He said deepest. And that means that in a conference that is as deep as the Big 12 is, it could be any team's conference. That any team could name 7 or 8 potential teams that could end up winning the conference. I think that's the truth. I think the Big 12 is the deepest conference in college football this year. And I have to give Brett Yormark credit for keeping this conference not just alive, but thriving.
All right, so I will give you, by the way, I'm so proud as a co-host that you used an Undertaker reference. We're going to bring 80s and 90s WWE into this culture one way or the other. It's brilliantly done by you. I'll give you a hot take. I'll give you my off-the-rocker take. And second year in a row, we covered college football together. Last year I got to do this. And Alabama fans, man, you didn't like me. Said it last year at the beginning of the season. I was told I was a moron and an idiot. And, hey, I'll see you in a few months. Because last year I said Alabama's not going to make the college football playoff. Y'all told me I was crazy. Funny, you didn't come back to apologize when I was right. And guess what? You're not making the college football playoff again this year. In fact, if we look at the success that Kalen DeBoer has had, where did it come from? It came from a quarterback that was familiar with this system, very familiar with this system, that came back to play with him in a situation where he was also playing with veteran wide receivers everywhere. And guys that have played a ton of college football. Like, there is not a single person in the world that can tell you if Ty Simpson's going to be any good. I'm sorry. We don't know if Alabama's starting quarterback is going to be. If you say you know, you're guessing. And if I got to guess one way or the other, what proof of concept have I seen that somebody that's played basically no college football will come in and crush it in Kalen DeBoer's offense? I just don't think we have any proof of concept that stacks towards that. So what do we end up with? Well, I think they're going to lose to LSU, right? That one feels pretty easy. They're going to lose to Georgia. That's 2 losses right there. So now all we got to do is find one more loss on the schedule. Well, this is no longer Nick Saban's Alabama. They don't find ways to win games that they shouldn't. They find ways to lose the occasional football game like every other college football program. Like, we got to stop talking about Alabama like this is the Alabama of 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. It isn't. This is Kalen DeBoer's Alabama. And I'm not sure a year from now it still will be Kalen DeBoer's Alabama, because if he misses the college football playoff for the second consecutive year, there are going to be riots in Alabama. Everybody is going to be just absolutely tripping over themselves to figure out what the hell is wrong. The fact is, maybe it's not that anything's wrong. Maybe it's just that Alabama comes down to earth a little bit. It's still a very good football team. They're just not a playoff team this year, Caroline.
And being in that space is just completely uncharted territory for Alabama. And
Facts.
you can say all day long that, look, once you don't have Nick Saban, your expectations should change. Says who? Alabama fans' expectations are not going to change. And their expectations are surely much higher than losing to an Oklahoma team that didn't even make a bowl game and Vanderbilt in year 1. Kalen DeBoer, though, he has won everywhere that he has gone, going back to his very first stops, whether it was, Fresno State or Washington or Sioux Falls, wherever it was where he started his career. He has won everywhere. So I don't think that he's going to be in this position for too long. I do expect him to turn this ship around, but I will move on to my second bold take for the year. Speaking of coaches, maybe his fortune won't be as good as I believe Kalen DeBoer's will be, because my take is Mike Norvell won't make it to November. Mike Norvell, the head coach at Florida State. Florida State went 2-10 last year, following up a year where they were undefeated and were the ACC champions. Talk about absolutely plummeting. And look, I told you, if you watched our preseason college football show last year, I told you that Florida State was going to take a step back. I told you that Florida State was not going to make the college football playoff. Even I, though, didn't think that it was going to be that bad. They bring in Thomas Castellanos from Boston College. And look, I'm sure he's a fine quarterback. The Boston College quarterback expectations are a far cry from Florida State quarterback expectations. They lost a lot of production from last year. So, Fitz, I don't think that Mike Norvell is going to make it past November, because I think that Florida State is going to drop some of these ACC games that they are expected to win. Pittsburgh, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, NC State. Those aren't gimmies.
Yeah, that's unfortunately for Norvell, who I had high hopes for when he was hired in that job. I just don't think they'll be met. I'll give you one more hot take. I'll give you one more pull off my rocker.
Yes, give me one more, please.
Are you ready for this? UNLV is headed to the college football playoff. Okay, hear me out. Everybody wants to crown
Homer.
Boise.
Don't want to hear it.
Yeah, just because I got the UNLV helmet over my shoulder. Hear me out. UNLV headed, yeah, you see it there, headed to the college football playoff. Caroline, let me give you some stats, all right? Dan Mullen has taken over as the head coach. They return only 2 starters. That's where everybody panics. He recruited 33 Power 4 players through the portal, 33, giving them 37 on their roster, more than 2 times more than any other team in the Mountain West. They have 16 4- or 5-star former recruits that have joined this roster. They have 21 players in the transfer portal that played at either the SEC or the Big Ten. When you are talking about the group of 6 trying to figure out where they belong in this process, man, talent matters. Now, look, yes, there's a bunch of new, and a bunch of new is tough to bring together. I believe Dan Mullen can do it, frankly. I believe that the Mountain West is out there for the taking, and in a world where we keep presuming that Ashton Genty being gone at Boise State means nothing and Boise State's going to be just fine. Remember, UNLV was on their coattails throughout the entire course of last season. I genuinely believe that UNLV has a shot at the college football playoff, and I would remind Barry Odom, who left UNLV for Purdue, you had a better shot at the playoffs in Vegas than you ever will coaching for Purdue. I understand, go get the bag, go get the money. But Dan Mullen comes into a well-funded team now that is used the transfer portal the right way. They are going to the college football playoff. And when it happens, I'm going to wear my Vegas I'm going to wear my Rebels helmet every single day. That's just what's going to happen. I'm going to wear the helmet. Thank you. Thank you very much. She's got the LSU helmet. I've got the UNLV helmet. We live in far different universes.
UNLV National Championship? You heard it here first.
Look, I just said make the playoff.
Bold predictions.
Yeah.
Add that one to the graphic.
Look at that. I feel good about yours. Yours is really good. I feel strong about mine too, though. Bama fans, just wait till the end of the season to hit me up this time because you embarrassed yourself last year. All right, let's get into some NFL news and notes. The North remembers. We'll break down some of the news and notes coming from the AFC North next on Yahoo Sports Daily.
Words or anything, at this point, I can't do anything to them. I know, the God put the ability and the power within me to not even think about nobody else's comments, not care. It is what it is. I spoke with him. He said, nah, but that wasn't. He said, that wasn't. He told me on the plane. He was like, nah, but that wasn't that. I see how they trying to stand. I'm like, oh, all right. I'm not tripping. Regardless of whatever it was, nobody's words or anything affects me.
That's SHEDEUR talking about Dylan Gabriel in the comments that everybody's trying to make a thing, even if they're not a thing. Yahoo Sports Daily, Caroline Fenton, Jason Fitz. We're going to run through the North, and I do mean run. We're going to get our Fenton and Fitz 4 points that we're going to go through from the AFC North. And let's start with SHEDEUR right there. Okay, so what do you think, Caroline, of his response to the way that he handled what we continue to try and make a controversy between these quarterbacks?
Yeah, I think that if SHEDEUR wanted to make this a bigger deal than it already has been, it was the number one story coming out of the second week of preseason. He could have, right? He could have, but he didn't. He just kind of, to me, completely extinguished any flame that there was. Look, words can't hurt me. We're moving on from it. I do think if there was anything that I would nitpick from what he had to say there, because it was a very mature and a good answer, would have said, hey, Dylan and I are good. We're friends. We're all good. We're all supportive in the quarterback room. Again, I'm not going to nitpick it. SHEDEUR, I think, has shown a level of maturity that maybe we all and maybe some general managers in the NFL wanted to see from him at Colorado. But all you can ask for is growth, that all you can ask for is learning from maybe some situations that weren't your best or your brightest in your past. So I think that SHEDEUR handled this with a great level of maturity and grace.
Or a level of SHEDEURity, as it were. Browns, stop putting one or the other out in front of a mic. Just stop. Cleveland, stop it. Put Dillon Gabriel and SHEDEUR Sanders out in front of a mic at the same time. You have the power to do it. Do it. Don't give individual availability. Let them speak together at everything so we just stop this madness. All right. You saw the tweet a second ago. Joe Flacco is going to start this weekend, but SHEDEUR will play. All right. So any shot in your mind that he plays his way into QB2?
No, and that's okay, right? It's okay. He doesn't need to play his way into QB2. And me saying no is nothing of an indictment of SHEDEUR, nor is it an indictment of Dillon Gabriel. It is more so in support of everything that Kevin Stefanski has said and everything that he has done, that they don't think that either of these quarterbacks are ready. So it is going to be Kenny Pickett as the backup quarterback, again, assuming that he is healthy, and that Joe Flacco is going to be the starter, that they want to protect their young quarterbacks as long as they possibly can, especially when the first 6 to 7 weeks of their schedule is an absolute gauntlet. So no, I don't think that he has the opportunity to do that right now because he shouldn't, and because the Browns don't want to rush them.
Caroline, I will admit I am a frustrating friend for many of my friends. Why am I a frustrating friend? Because we're all sitting around, everybody's having some drinks and somebody will start talking like, oh, I think this guy played on this record. Or I remember that actor was on this. And I'm the guy that rather than spend 10 minutes having a conversation about it, I just Google it. I just look it up. And I'm like, all right, got the answer. I ruin speculative talk sometimes. And I know that makes me boring. But if you've been listening to this show since we started for 2 weeks, it's been pretty clear. The 4 quarterbacks that the Cleveland Browns are going to carry into the season are in the order they're going to be of some sort. Like number 1 and number 2 are set. I don't believe there's anything that will happen this weekend that will change the fact that Joe Flacco's 1, Kenny Pickett is 2, and then Dillon Gabriel and SHEDEUR Sanders are 3 and 4. And I don't really care what order they're in because, frankly, if you get to your third string quarterback, no matter what's happening, things have gone awry throughout the course of your season. So here's what we know. It'll be 1, Joe Flacco, 2, Kenny Pickett, 3, 4 will be the rookies in some order. I know that's not a sexy take. It's not a hot take. And I'd make a lot more money in this business if I would come out and scream about what an injustice it is to one of these guys. But this has always been the way. It will be the way. And nothing's going to change that throughout the course of the rest of the season. Speaking of quarterbacks, let's see where we are on this. This is big news. Lamar Jackson, he was injured, but, no big deal. That's what we thought. No big deal. But it sounds like there could be a little bit of a big deal because if you're looking at some of the social media reaction here, it feels like there is some concern. Ravens coach John Harbaugh, prayers do get answered. He said Lamar Jackson is fine after getting stepped on, got an x-ray to be sure. Prayers do get answered. I think that quote, Caroline, has people freaking out. How freaked out are we right now about Lamar?
I'm not too freaked out about that quote because it sounds like everything's okay, right? And wasn't everyone just kind of holding on to their breath and living on a prayer that Lamar Jackson was going to be okay? So if John Harbaugh is saying prayers do get answered, then that means he's okay. At least that was my interpretation of the quote. Maybe I'm wrong. Look, I've been wrong before and I'll be wrong again. If everything is not 100% hunky-dory, all prayers have been answered with Lamar Jackson, then a prayer is going to be all you got this year, Ravens fans, because I don't think that the Ravens are going to be a playoff team if Lamar Jackson is not quarterbacking this Ravens team. And look, it is a stacked roster. They've got an insane defense. That secondary is nasty and has the ability to be one of the best units in all of the National Football League. But Lamar Jackson isn't a 2-time MVP and probably could have been 3-time MVP for nothing. It's because he is more important to his football team than any other player in the National Football League. And if you take him away from that team, they're a wildly different team. But overall, I interpret the quote as a good thing for Lamar Jackson.
I did until we saw those Shefty quotes that you see there where it's like, hey, if Lamar Jackson's foot injury is scarier is the question because he came out and said, hey, If it's nothing, then you don't need a prayer to be answered. And Shefty's sort of just putting out these little tasty treats that are making everybody think there's an issue, which Lamar is laughing at. I don't know. Like, Shefty's not one to come out and just manufacture things. That's not who he is as a person or a reporter. So it just made me a little nervous yesterday when Shefty started hey, if it was nothing, then why were the Ravens needing a prayer to be answered? I see both sides to this. Look, I don't think that any of us are sitting here wildly concerned, but we also know the NFL. Like, I'd love to make a blanket statement today that this means nothing. But how often do we see at the end of a season somebody will go in and say, well, I had these 4 injuries and I'm going to go ahead and get surgery now. We just didn't really tell you guys about it. Over the course of the season, these guys take so much damage to their body. I'm not concerned. But also, if we see Lamar and he doesn't look like himself at all, which I hope isn't the case for the first month of the season, will we not at least be concerned about whether or not this foot injury is worse than we thought? All eyes will continue to be on Lamar. Let's talk about one more injury. T. Higgins, ankle injury at practice. He was evaluated. He returned. I don't know, Caroline. Like, I'm a little concerned about this because the Bengals without T, they're 5-8 during his career without him. Like, it looks like a different offense without T. Higgins. He needs to be 100% of himself for that team with that trash defense to have any shot.
And if he's not, that's concerning for the Bengals because no, he's not Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase is going to be their number one go-to guy. But with no T. Higgins, then you're just going to double and triple Jamar Chase. And then what happens to this passing game? And then if this passing game sputters, how else are you going to win football games in Cincinnati? Because the Bengals right now are designed to win games 38-35, 41-38. That if the over-under on a Bengals game is 100, you probably hammer the over. Because the offense is the only way that this team is going to win games. And this offense is not the same without T. Higgins. So I hope that everything is okay. I hope that he's still able to be out there and as close to 100% as possible. Because if he's not, then you just continue to waste Joe Burrow's prime, exactly how the Bengals did last year with as miserable of a defense as they had.
It feels like there's one common thread in these injuries that we've discussed that hopefully mean nothing for the Ravens and the Bengals. And that common thread is that these are two teams that are hanging on by a thread. There are certain guys you just can't lose. Lamar is one of them. There's certain guys I don't think the Bengals can lose because, to your point, the way they've constructed any wiggle room that the Bengals lack, they lack because of their own roster construction and the way that they have built this thing defensively. But it's enough certainly to make Bengals fans nervous everywhere. All right, we got preseason football coming up this weekend, including New Orleans. The Saints are marching into the weekend, still trying to figure out what the heck they're doing at the quarterback position. We'll tell you about it next. Welcome back to hour number 2 of a Friday fun day. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. It's Yahoo Sports Daily. And we are here for you the next hour to get you caught up on everything happening right now. We start, my friend, as we always do, with 3 points. What is on your mind?
Oh, the vibes are good in New York, at least if you're a Giants fan. Jets fans, you probably shouldn't feel the same way. But if you're a Giants fan, the vibes are good. We just wrapped up a preseason game last night, and the Giants dominated the Patriots 42-10, if you care about the final score of preseason games. But Tommy DeVito with a hat trick of his own, 17 of 20, 198 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Tommy DeVito, everybody's put their little Italian hands up like this. And solidarity for Tommy DeVito. We also saw another great night from Jackson Dart. He was 6 of 12, got significantly less work than Tommy DeVito did, probably as we expected in the third preseason game. But he was 6 of 12, 81 yards and a touchdown. That was going to do it for him for the night. And everybody was eating dubs. If you saw it, Jackson Dart was feeding Jameis Winston a dub last night. We also got to see peek behind the curtain of Cam Scadaboo. Not a huge night for him. 3 carries for 12 yards, but he was one of the most electric running backs in college football last year, right up there with Ashton Genty. So we'll see how big of a part of the run game he can be for the New York Giants. But overall, vibes are good with New York Giants fans. And I don't remember the last time I said that, Fitzy.
Can I just start the chant? Like, start the dart. Start the. I just want it, Caroline. I just want it. Every time I watch him play, I'm like, I just want it. I admit I now have a Jackson Dart bias I didn't know I had. I am all in. I want Jackson Dart to get on the field as quickly as possible. No offense to Russ. Just start the dart. It's just more fun to say. I'll get you another preseason football point. A bunch of people you've never heard of wore jerseys yesterday that told you it was a Steelers versus Panthers matchup in the preseason. Look, I know, you guys were riveted by Skylar Thompson's 11 of 13, 152-yard passing performance. Maybe he should start as the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I kid. But the Steelers did get a 19-10 win over the Panthers. Again, that Panthers included Bryce Perkins, 10 of 11, 71 yards. So, look, there's not a ton that we're going to take away from Bryce Perkins and Jack Plummer at the quarterback position, not Jake, for Carolina. And Mason Rudolph getting 6 of 8 for 36 yards, reminding us all that he's still in the league. There was a substantial moment, though, for the Steelers. Rookie defensive tackle Derek Harmon was injured in the game, had to be carted off the field, was ruled out. The most recent updates we have say that the injury may not be as severe as initially thought, which would be amazing, but they did have to actually bring out the cart and take their first-round pick off the field that way. That is always a scary moment, especially this close to the season, and especially knowing the fact that the Steelers are going to be defined by their defense this year while they try and figure out their rhythm offensively with Aaron Rodgers and the rest of their weapons. So I'm not sure that there's a drastic, tremendous takeaway from a game that frankly felt like it was backups on backups on backups taking each other on. But anytime you have an injury to a first-round pick, that is the hold your breath moment that has all Steelers fans everywhere concerned. I don't know that we learned anything about the Steelers or the Panthers, but at least we now no longer have to watch people we didn't know were still in the NFL try and convince us it's an NFL game. Preseason football is done for the Steelers and Panthers. That's the real takeaway. Let's get to even more takeaways, though, Caroline, because we do have a weekend full of preseason football that actually could have some meaning. There are some questions here. There's some things we want to know. There are some storylines that we are interested in. What is the storyline that you've got your eye on for this weekend, even though it's the preseason, that you still think is, to use your favorite word that I hate, juicy?
It is juicy. It is tea. It is spicy. You can pick your own. Choose your own adventure there. What I'm checking out this weekend in the preseason is going to be the same thing that has been my number one, topic of discussion, thing of interest. It's the Browns quarterbacks. Duh. It's the number one thing that all of us care about in this preseason. We're going to see a little bit of SHEDEUR. Obviously, we know that he's been dealing with that oblique injury, and that's what kept him out of the Browns' second preseason game. But we will see him get some snaps tonight in the third preseason game. Of course, we're not going to see Kenny Pickett. Of course, we're not going to see Joe Flacco. The Browns want to protect their QB1 and QB2. They're without saying it explicitly, they're giving us all of these clues that we need to know. Obviously, we do know that Joe Flacco will be QB1, but holding Kenny Pickett out of this preseason game shows me they are protecting their backup quarterback, but they still want to continue to see what they have in their young guns, in their rookies, in Dillon Gabriel and SHEDEUR Sanders. How do they look? What more growth do we get to see from them? Do we have any sideline interviews that are going to make headlines and going to be the number one topic of discussion on our show on Monday? Maybe. We shall see. But that is what I'm going to be watching this weekend in the preseason.
Yeah, I'm genuinely torn on this, right? Like, look, Joe Flacco is going to play a little bit in this game, probably one series, right? If I had to guess, and he's going to hand the ball off a few times, take a couple of quick passes and be done. Then we're going to get the young guys. And the problem is, we're just going to overreact to everything that the young guys do. And I don't think that reason will apply anymore. So part of me sits here and says, I want both young guys to have a perfect game. I would love Dillon Gabriel to go 20-20 for 500 yards. And then SHEDEUR comes in and goes 20-20 for 500 yards. And they throw 8 touchdowns between the two of them. Great. Glory be to God. I want that. Fantastic. I just don't think that that's reasonable. And then the other part of it is, if SHEDEUR and Dillon go off, and they're amazing, then everybody's going to scream, why the hell are you starting Joe Flacco? And if they both stink, then people are going to use that as some sort of an indictment on what it should mean for the young quarterbacks. Like I said earlier in this show, I can't wait to see Jalen Milroe because we're not going to get to see him again anytime soon. I genuinely believe that's the truth for Dillon Gabriel and SHEDEUR Sanders, the same way. And I'm excited to see both for that moment. I want to see them both grow. The problem just is, I'm not sure they can grow without it having to be our number one story Monday morning that SHEDEUR played well against backups in game 3 of the preseason. Like, it's likely going to be that, and it hurts my heart. At this point, it hurts my heart because I truly feel like everybody's put this thing in a lose-lose situation. It's no longer win-win. It's lose-lose. I'll give you a storyline I really like this weekend. You mentioned start the dart. Well, I really stole that. But start the dart is one New York quarterback situation. Justin Fields is another. Like, Justin Fields has not played well for the Jets. And Aaron Glenn came out a couple of days ago and said, hey, I'm tired of all this overanalyzing. Like, the noise around Justin Fields is unnecessary. He's doing a great job. No, he's not. Like, we've all seen it. It's not looked good in the preseason. And I'll buy, hey, we're not running our full offense. I think a smart point made by Dan Orlovsky is that they're showing such vanilla concepts. They're not even using what Justin Fields does well throughout the course of the preseason. I'll buy all of that. But there's still reason for concern when you look as bad as it's looked at times. I think Fields needs to come in for his own confidence. Like, this is a guy that's just been battling everywhere he's ever gone to have some level of appreciation for who he is and what he does, Caroline. And I think if he comes out and struggles in this game again, especially in a market like New York, it's just more noise. I want the kid to have no noise and just be able to come out. Like, having a great game in this doesn't mean he's going to have a great season, but at least maybe it means that the vultures for the next couple of weeks just calm down, which I think is good for anybody in that situation.
And I always say, take preseason games with a grain of salt. We see guys look great in the preseason and then they fizzle out and we just kind of forget their names. We see guys look really brutal in the preseason and maybe it was because they were trying something new, or maybe it was mistakes that they needed to make in a game that didn't matter at all, so they could learn from it and be better in the regular season. I hope that's the case for Justin Fields. I really do, because I do take everything in the preseason with a little bit of a grain of salt. However, I do kind of feel like I know what Justin Fields is at this point in his career. He wasn't a starter in Chicago, so in Pittsburgh, was he going to have a career renaissance? No, he didn't. And now he's with the New York Jets, which is a franchise that has not had a legitimate franchise quarterback. Feels like since as long as I've been alive. So I really do hope that this is the place where Justin Fields could really break out and really prove to be that guy that we thought he was going to be when he came out at Ohio State. I just can't really put my money on that, Fitzy, but I hope for the best, at least for him, for the New York Jets. But my second question is, we will see the Bears starter in their preseason game against the Chiefs. They play tonight. I'm sure that we'll only see a series, maybe 2, if we're lucky, from all of those starters. But we get to see Caleb Williams again. So I want to see what can Caleb Williams do to build upon the debut that we saw from him in the preseason last week? Do we continue to start to see Ben Johnson's gears turn a little bit? Do we see what this offense could really look like and the identity of this offense and this team as a whole? Do we see that start to come together tonight? I don't know how much we are going to see, but anytime we get an opportunity to see Caleb Williams, especially with an offensive-minded head coach and with a head coach that feels like is going to be a much better fit for him than Matt Eberflus was last season, then I will take it.
I would love to see Caleb Williams just crush it. I think a real expectation here is the first couple of weeks going to be a little rocky, and then it's going to get better every single week from there. But that requires patience, which is hard for a guy that was drafted number 1 overall and for Bears fans that want results right now. Another storyline I've got my eyes on, can the Chargers and 49ers just get out of the game healthy? And I mean all the way across the board. We've already seen some significant injuries, obviously, on the offensive line for the Chargers. I'm so nervous just in general for their depth on the offensive line, even if it's a third-string guy that gets hurt. Once your starters have been sort of shifted around, what you don't want to do is question even more of that depth. These are teams that have Super Bowl aspirations that over the course of the last several years have had plenty of injury concerns week in and week out. I don't know an easy answer for staying healthy, but I hate the concept that we'll be robbed of anything less than the best of what we could get from the Chargers and 49ers specifically because of an injury in a useless preseason game. Now, you and I talk all the time and have talked all the time about the fact that if we're being honest, you can get hurt anywhere. Anytime you can hurt in practice. I understand the risk that comes with playing football. It just makes me nervous for these two particular franchises in a preseason game because they both battled the injury bug so much, and I just want them to get to week 1, at least some shell of whatever healthiness they can have right now moving forward.
And you hate to see these injuries happen in games that don't have legitimate implications. Now, look, injuries happen, right? Injuries happen in practice. Injuries happen in the preseason. Injuries happen in the regular season. Injuries happen in the playoffs. It's unfortunate, but it is a realistic part of this game. But you just want to see everybody be healthy as possible in any of these games, for any of these teams, but especially the teams that have already been bitten so badly by the injury bug in the preseason.
What's another point that you got on your mind?
Overall, I think going into this preseason, we've wanted to get a lot of answers about the quarterback position. And we want to see answers. We want to see the rookies, right? We want to see Jackson Dart. Of course, we want to see SHEDEUR and Dillon Gabriel. But maybe one quarterback situation that isn't as sexy. And it's not really sexy to talk about either. But it is an important point, and it is the quarterback situation in New Orleans. We will see Spencer Rattler as the starter in the final preseason game. So what does this mean for the hierarchy of the quarterback room? It really is between Jake Haener and Spencer Rattler. And by all reports and by all discussion and conversation in New Orleans, it's really kind of split. Now, how do they feel in the front office and in the coaching room? That has yet to be seen. But amongst the fans, you're either team Spencer or you're team Tyler. It's like we're going back to the Twilight days. So what does this say that Spencer Rattler is getting the start? Does that mean they're going to play all backups and that Tyler Shuck got the edge? Or are they still kind of wanting to see a little bit of a split of snaps? But we will see Spencer Rattler get the start. So we'll kind of see him kind of pull apart and get the edge as the starter. I'll be watching that as the only quarterback situation that has yet to be resolved in the NFL.
Yeah, it's just when you're this deep into the preseason, you don't know who your quarterback is. And it's not because you have so many great options that you can't figure out which great option you're going to put there. Boy, that gets nervous. Also, I just want to go, let's get sexy. It's an Impractical Jokers reference. All right. We'll continue to break down the NBA preseason. There's a lot in the preseason that we've got our eye on, but we've also got our eye on the NBA and a retirement. Big news that came down in the rafters. Where will this jersey go? We'll look at the legacy of Derrick Rose next. Yahoo Sports Daily. Brunson, LeBron, Luka, Cat, the most expensive ticket of the upcoming NBA season. Lakers versus Knicks at the Garden, February 1st. Yahoo Sports Daily. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. $1,138. Now, in full disclosure, here we were getting ready for the show, and our producer extraordinaire, Mike Goldfarb, hit us up and said, what would you pay $1,138 to get into? At which point, I had to let Mike know that I was looking at the open market for tickets to the Backstreet Boys at Sphere in Vegas. They're more than that, all right? So just point of reference, you can go to this NBA game for less than you can go see the Backstreet Boys at Sphere in Vegas, Caroline. I just, but $1,100 for what is supposedly a meaningless NBA regular season game, that's beefy. What are you out there paying $1,100 a ticket for?
And I want to know too, is that just the average ticket price? Am I paying $1,100? Is it in the nosebleeds at MSG? Like, no. If it's $1,100 to be courtside and sit next to Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet, then I might think about that a little bit more. But over $1,100, am I spending that on a Knicks-Lakers game? No. Ain't no way in hell I'm doing that. Well, I'm not a Knicks fan. I'm not a Lakers fan. Yes, it's the Knicks and the Lakers. I'm not spending that much money on that. But if one of my teams was in a championship, absolutely, I would be paying that to go watch my teams in a championship. If the Saints were in the Super Bowl, the St. Louis Cardinals were in the World Series, if LSU was in the national championship game, heck, if LSU was even in a college football playoff game, I would be paying that ticket price. But if my teams aren't in it and there isn't something on the line, then I'd be hard pressed to pay that ticket price. I mean, I almost spent $700 on a Notre Dame playoff game just because I thought it would be a cool experience. But that, I don't know. I don't think I can.
I think so. Weirdly, the $1,138. So I just looked it up. Playoff tickets last year for the Garden courtside were $62,000 a seat and up. So $1,100 is definitely for the nosebleeds.
Okay.
Here's
wow.
the one thing. I think it'd be, for me, I would be more likely to go, like if I knew it was LeBron's last season. LeBron announces before the year he's retiring, and LeBron's playing in the Garden. There's a part of me that would be like, yeah, I think I want to spend $1,100 for that. Like I would be in for that. If I knew it was somebody's retirement, their swan song. And interestingly for me, I'd be more likely to do that for a team I'm not a fan of. Like I had the chance when the Raiders went to the playoffs a few years ago in Cincinnati. I had a couple of people offer me a free ticket to go to the game in person. I did not want to go. I don't want to sit there in front of 60,000 people that are rooting against me and likely watch my favorite team lose. I think if it's a bigger experience, like if it's part of the world, if it's a World Series game and it's your favorite team, all right, that one game doesn't win or lose the series, I would be in for going. I've been lucky enough in my life to go to a few Super Bowls, and I remember sitting at the Super Bowl. We had played the pregame show for the Broncos Seahawks Super Bowl, and I had fans sitting in front of me that were Broncos fans and fans sitting behind me that were Seahawks fans. And the Broncos fans were weeping uncontrollably in the second half. And the guy looked at, I'm presuming, his wife and said, we spent over $100,000 on this. And when you think about best tickets you could imagine to the Super Bowl and flights to New York and hotels, and like they spent $100,000 to watch their team get their ass kicked. Like, and then I looked at the Seahawks fans behind me and they were happy, but they weren't $100,000 happy. Like, so I think for me, if it's my favorite team, I'd actually be more, if the Raiders are in the Super Bowl, I don't know if I don't know if I could take the risk of being in public for that. If it's a landmark of like going back in time, if you knew you had the chance to see like Kobe's last game at the Garden or Michael's last game at the Garden, I'd spend the money on that. I'd be more likely to spend the money on a college football playoff matchup of teams that I don't care about just to have great seats than I would my own, because I'm insecure as a fan and I believe my favorite team's going to break my heart.
I don't think you're alone in that, though. You know, I just recently moved to North Carolina. And LSU, my team, my alma mater, is playing at Clemson to open up week 1. And I thought, well, that's great. That's just a 2-hour drive from where I live in Charlotte to go to Clemson. Like, that's great. It's a wonderful opportunity. I don't get to go to Louisiana often enough to watch my team play at home, so I'll watch them play away. Tickets were like $1,400, and then it's the drive there, and then it's a lot. All right. So, you know, I think that there are some times that being in an away stadium, it's very humbling. And also sometimes it's just nicer to watch the game at home. There's no line for the bathroom. Concessions are much cheaper in your own fridge than they are from a concession stand. Temperature controlled. You know, you're not on your feet all day. You don't have a drive ahead of you. You don't have to deal with parking. Might sound like an old head. Watching the game
Yeah,
at home is
have a
really
little
fun
bit.
too.
But also you can control the idiots around you too. Well, which matters to me. Now I'm the old head. Okay, speaking of tough tickets to come by this season, big news in the NBA. Derrick Rose's jersey will be retired by the Chicago Bulls on January 24th. So that number one going into the rafters at the United Center. Derrick Rose. When I say Derrick Rose to you, what's the first word that comes to mind?
What could have been? That's not a word, but it's a phrase. What could have been? Because Derrick Rose was one of the most electrifying young stars that we saw in the NBA. Even going back to his time in college, he was an absolute blast to watch. But then injury after injury and setback after setback. You see, the MVP season, his Rookie of the Year season. He just continued to build upon what he did year over year until the injury bug bit, and he just couldn't do it anymore. So I can't help but think, and I think that's one of the greatest what ifs in sports, or maybe fair to say, or better to say, one of the most tragic what ifs in sports. What could have Derrick Rose become had he been healthy? So it's unfortunate. But I feel lucky as a sports fan that we got to see at least a fraction of what Derrick Rose was capable of throughout the entirety of his career.
I think that's why I initially my word was bittersweet because of the very things you mentioned. But as you talk, I think more and more the word is human. Like for Derrick Rose to have his jersey retired in Chicago, a city that has such incredible individual player history for different eras, it speaks to how much he meant to the organization, even though he was only Derrick Rose for a short amount of time. Like that's incredible. And then you think about just the human element of what it has to feel like to know that you have the potential, the chance, the opportunity, the talent to be an all-time great, and your body just doesn't cooperate. And, we use the phrase injury prone a lot, and I don't think people are necessarily injury prone, but bodies are bodies. Sometimes, I've talked to injury doctors repeatedly about the fact that the makeup of everybody's body is different. And sometimes one little thing can create a chain reaction that causes injury after injury, and your body just doesn't cooperate. And I cannot imagine how hard it must be for Derrick Rose even to sit down and look at his career, understanding all of the great things he's accomplished and how proud he should be, but also understanding how much he sort of left on the table, how much he wasn't capable of accomplishing compared to what he thought he could do through no fault of his own. And that's just, it's hard. The former athletes I know that played at the highest possible level have so much pride in what they did, but they also all look back at different moments in their career and say, I wish, I might, I could. I can't imagine what that's like for Derrick Rose, who I hope has just tremendous appreciation for what he meant to basketball, what he meant to the Bulls, what he means to the city of Chicago, what he still means today to Bulls fans. But Caroline, I can't imagine that it isn't also tough sometimes to look around and say, yeah, I could have been even greater and we could have seen even more greatness. And so I'm glad his jerseys are going up in the rafters. I hope that we press pause on everything else and just appreciate it's going up in the rafters because he did so many great things in such a limited amount of time.
And I think that's what makes this even more impactful and more powerful is the fact that it was a fairly short period of time compared to the longevity of careers that we've seen from other players, LeBron, for example. It was a fairly short period of time, but it was so impactful that it was so that they want to recognize Derrick Rose's contributions to this franchise as someone who will forever be ingrained in the fabric of that organization, a very, long tenured and a very classic organization. That what he did, albeit a short period of time, was so important and was so impactful, I think makes this even more special. Because I think longevity of careers in and of itself are incredibly honorable. That sometimes players that stick around for a very long time, we acknowledge for just being able to be around for a long period of time. And I think that's special in its own right. But being able to be so impactful in such a short period of time, I think is incredibly special. And I think we're going to be talking about Derrick Rose for years and years and years to come, that he will forever be ingrained in the NBA and Chicago history books, and for good reason.
It also, though, speaks to what's happened to the Bulls. Like, I mean, I joke about my age, but the Bulls and their greatness was a transformative chapter in my life. Like, even if I wasn't a Bulls fan growing up, you still watched those Bulls teams and sat there just amazed at what everybody, not just at Jordan and Pippen, but like half the world became mega fans of the Horace Grants of the world, the Dennis Rodmans of the world, the Craig Hodges of the world, the John Paxsons of the world, like role players that otherwise we wouldn't even remember. It's staggering sometimes when you think that post that chapter, Derrick Rose, that's it. Like the Bulls have never really been able to do anything post Jordan that they can say they can really hang in the rafters that way other than Derrick Rose. And that I think it's a statement to Derrick Rose's greatness. It's just also a statement to the Bulls and how lost the franchise is today compared to a franchise that I grew up thinking would always be. I grew up thinking they'd be as prominent in the NBA culture forever as the Lakers and Celtics are, and that hasn't turned out to be the case at all. Let's get to some other NBA news. Spurs rookie Dylan Harper. This is interesting. Carmelo Anthony's podcast, 7 p.m. in Brooklyn, mentioned that he thought that Harper could follow the same path as Harden. James Harden was with the Thunder, came off the bench for 3 to 4 years, waiting his turn. So everyone's got to wait for theirs. It's kind of funny because we just immediately see a high draft pick in Dylan Harper. And even when he was drafted, people were saying, why would you do that? You have De'Aaron Fox. But to me, Caroline, this makes a ton of sense. Like, slow develop your young guy while you get the most out of De'Aaron Fox that you have and just grow your team organically the right way. I have no problem with this concept.
I don't have a problem with it. 3 to 4 years is a long time, right? I mean, like a 3 to 4 years is the entirety or almost the entirety of a rookie contract in the NFL. So 3 to 4 years, I don't think that I can get totally on board with, but I can start with, hey, we're going to start in slow burn you now, and we're going to let you marinate. And we now feel with you on the bench, we still have a really good shot at making a run in the playoffs. And then that will give you more and more opportunities to learn. I do totally agree with the fact that we in sports have such a short attention span, that we live in a microwave society, an Ozempic society, an iPhone society where we want immediate results right now. And that is to the detriment and probably the downfall of a lot of really bright young athletes. And we can give several examples in lots of different sports, especially ones that don't have some of those developmental leagues like Major League Baseball has. So I don't hate this idea in the slightest. It sounds like it's a dirty word. Development now in the NBA when you have guys that are in college for 1 year and then immediately making impacts for their NBA teams as soon as they get drafted or the first opportunities that they do. But I'm with you that I don't hate the idea of letting Dylan Harper just cook for a little bit when you feel confident in the team that you have.
Especially when you have a Victor Wembanyama. I'm just gonna presume that health normalizes itself for Wembanyama. And if Wemby ends up as healthy as everybody hopes he's, like, that's knock on wood, we're all hoping for that. If Wemby ends up being the healthy version of himself, in the next couple of years, he only becomes more and more and more dominant through all of this. And Harper gets the opportunity to figure that out and how to play best with him over time. I don't hate any of this because, frankly, I think young NBA players, the expectation on them is so wild at times, and it usually doesn't work that way. Give me a little extra grace. Give me a little extra time. I'll take that all day. Also, some big breaking news at this point on Malik Beasley. Malik Beasley has been cleared of federal gambling investigations. Now, remember, he was being investigated on a bunch of bets that came in on some of the games he played, created a real conversation about whether or not he had done something nefarious. He has been completely cleared. Shams saying ESPN story on Malik Beasley receiving determination that he is not a target in Eastern District of New York's gambling investigation, potentially opening the door for the sharpshooter with the second most threes in the NBA last year to resume free agency. According to the Detroit Free Press, in August, he had been offered a $42 million deal, or he confirmed that in August, that he was offered a 3-year, $42 million deal. But the Pistons pressed pause on that with this investigation. It will be interesting to see now that there is no longer, he's been cleared. It'll be interesting to see how much the NBA trusts that, how much NBA fans trust that. This is just the world we live in. Once your name is in certain circles, everybody, and it's not right. Like, it is not right. It's just real. Everybody has their feeling some kind of way. He is coming off of a huge year. I'm curious to see if Malik Beasley ends up in the NBA this year.
This whole thing sounded strange to me from the beginning. And this is breaking news, so I haven't been able to go back and read all of the details of when it initially came out. I think it was maybe mid-June or early July. But it was back in 2023, 24. And it was a Malik Beasley, I believe, over on rebounds or assists. And it was the bet. It was an over on it was a prop bet. But he didn't hit it. It was an under, or maybe the bet was an under. And I apologize. I'm bumbling this here because I'm trying to find the details, but I believe maybe they bet on the under and he hit the over. Well, okay. Well, if the bet was on the under and he was really trying to fix games, or he was, putting little whispers in his friends' ears of like, hey, look, take the under, take the under, take the under. Wouldn't he do everything in his power to hit that under? Why would he hit that over? So there weren't enough details, at least from what I knew and what was initially reported, to say, oh, yeah, that smells fishy. There's plenty of things in sports that we can say, yeah, that smells fishy. I go back to Alabama's old baseball coach several years ago. He bet on LSU to win. In an LSU-Alabama baseball matchup when Paul Skeens was playing. He pulled his starter 10 minutes, 30 minutes before first pitch, put in a guy who hadn't pitched in a long time. Like, that smells fishy to me. And he was in fact fired and proven guilty of that. But the details of this didn't feel fishy enough to me. So if he is in fact innocent, I'm glad that he was proven so.
At least one prominent U.S. sportsbook detected unusually heavy betting interest on his statistics beginning in January of 2024. An industry source pointed to a game between the Bucks and the Trailblazers on January 31st. The odds on Beasley recording fewer than 2.5 rebounds moved significantly before the game, shortening from about plus 120 to minus 250 due to a surge of action. Beasley finished with 6 rebounds, and the bets that were deemed unusual all lost, to your point. He was investigated because, as we say on the show a lot, guardrails work. They notice when there's heavy action. So he was investigated because of the heavy action. That doesn't change the fact that he's also being sued by multiple lenders at this point. Beasley's got a lot going on in his life, but he's been cleared. And the question is, will the NBA let him back in? All right, from questions about Malik Beasley to questions about Giannis. Is the Greek Freak going to stay in Milwaukee? We'll figure it out next on Yahoo Sports Daily. Clarity on Giannis Antetokounmpo's future with the Bucks will present itself once he returns from Greece and the Eurobasket tournament overseas. That is at least some of the reporting on Giannis Antetokounmpo, is this seems to be the summer of what's Giannis going to do yet again. Like, this is like Fast and the Furious 7. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz, Yahoo Sports Daily. I feel like every summer it's like, oh, Giannis, he's headed out of Milwaukee. This is the annual tradition. I love it. Like, this is in part because, frankly, we just expect the Bucks with Giannis to be in a championship window every single year, and they haven't been. They've tried some moves. It hasn't worked. So now it feels like we're looking at ways for Giannis to get out every single year. So I want to start here, Caroline. I'm going to give you some trade scenarios, okay? I'm going to give you some opportunities to be the judge, jury, executioner on all things trade for Giannis. But before we do that, I want to say one thing clearly. Do you believe that Giannis Antetokounmpo will be a Milwaukee Buck this year?
This year, yes, I do believe that. And I get so frustrated every single year. I feel like we have Giannis trade talk because we don't want Giannis in Milwaukee. That we so badly as sports fans want to see Giannis in a Golden State uniform or in a sexier market. But then whenever that happens, we inevitably, as a sports society, will say, oh, well, those markets get everything. Those teams get everything. It was the same thing with Shohei. We wanted Shohei out of the Angels so badly. And then once he landed with the Dodgers, it was, well, Dodgers just pay for everything. Dodgers just get everything. We don't know what we want as a sports society. Giannis, I think by all intents and purposes, by no reporting, has anyone said that Giannis is incredibly, fed up with the Milwaukee front office, that Giannis doesn't want to be in Milwaukee? From everything I've heard, I think Giannis is actually pretty happy in the city of Milwaukee. There's one thing that I think we've learned about Giannis over the years is that he is incredibly and fiercely loyal. That as long as the Bucks front office is doing everything that they can to build a championship contender around Giannis, I think that he will stay. Now, look, you don't have to agree with the moves that the Bucks have made. And, moving on from Drew Holiday and bringing in Damian Lillard. Well, Damian Lillard tore his Achilles. So they brought in Miles Turner and paid all of that money for Damian Lillard to go away and paid Miles Turner to continue to build on this championship window. Now, I don't love those moves, but the Bucks are doing what they can, everything in their power to continue to be a contender with Giannis around him, with Giannis with them. So I think as long as the Bucks are proving that they want to win, Giannis will be there.
We are, one reporter said to me yesterday, we're in a period where half of the players can't be traded. 5 or 6 teams control most of the first round picks. New York, for example, only has 1 first to trade. Minnesota has none. That's context because I just want to remind everybody a trade for Giannis is a difficult one. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to make Caroline Fenton, John Horst, the GM of the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm going to present you a trade offer. And this trade offer is a reasonable and accurate trade offer. Why? Because someone even smarter than either of us came up with it. Brian Windhorst had an article last month out on ESPN.com where he laid out 5 trades for Giannis that could actually happen. There's a ton of names here. So I'm going to blow through it, but I'll give you the most important part of it, where Giannis ends up. And there's a lot that goes into this. So let's start with the Houston Rockets. All right, one trade scenario, and you get to be Judge Horst in this situation. I like Judge Fenton. I mean, we'll give you a little gavel.
Yeah, why not?
Rockets. The Houston Rockets acquire Giannis Antetokounmpo and Pat Connaughton. Okay, and then Milwaukee gets Alperen Sengun, Cam Whitmore, Reed Shepard, Jake Landale, a first-round pick in 2025, 27, 28. So 3 first-rounders and a handful of players. Houston gets Giannis and Pat. What do you think?
Man, I mean, that is an attractive trade offer. If I'm the Bucks front office, though, I still can't do it. I still cannot, in good faith, move on from the face of the franchise and a guy that is so beloved in that city. But what it would do is reset the clock on this Bucks organization. Because right now they have so much money tied up. And Miles Turner and Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard's getting paid to not even play in Milwaukee. So this would be Milwaukee's out. Underneath, a lot of that money, resetting the clock. I still don't think I could do it.
Yeah, where they get, like, Sengun is fine. Offensively, he's fine. But you're not replacing Giannis that way. Like, I don't see where you're getting the point production.
Not on the court and not an impact.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like, it's okay. The best trades are ones that make everybody a little bit uncomfortable, where everybody feels like they kind of lost and everybody feels like they kind of won. I just don't feel like there's enough offensive firepower in that at all to make up for what they'd be losing in Giannis at all. So I'd ixnay that. Well, how about this one? The Raptors, okay? The Raptors get Giannis and they give up Scotty Barnes, Grady Dick, Ochai Agbaji. I can never say that name right. Sorry. And then 2025 first, 2029 first, and the 2031 first. That's
no.
Again, that's a lot of firsts.
That's hard. No.
All right, that's it. Like that's
I couldn't do that. There's not enough star power. And look, first round picks are great and all, because not only could they turn into potential stars, but you can also package those picks into trading for other players. But that's not enough for me. Like, I would need, if I'm giving up Giannis, I'm giving up Giannis one of the best players in the league, the face of my franchise. I'm going to need more than that. I need more than picks. I need impact players right now. Obviously, you're not getting a Giannis for Giannis kind of trade, but I would need way more than that.
Yeah, the Scotty Barnes portion of it is interesting, but like Scotty Barnes is a good start to me. It's like, all right, that's cute. We got to get way better than that. Right. So how about the Spurs? The Spurs getting Giannis and then giving up Harrison Barnes, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sochan, and then a bunch of picks. I mean, 20, 25, 26, 28, 30, and 31. So you're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 first-rounders. One of them's first-round swap and 3 players.
Why do the Spurs need Giannis? I mean, do they not have Victor Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox, and they drafted Stephon Castle? I mean, they just drafted Dylan Harper. I mean, they have a ton of young talent. Yes, maybe Giannis would expedite that process. I don't know if I mean, personally.
I think the argument there is you're going to put Wemby, you're going to let Wemby play on the outside where he doesn't have to bang around in the middle much.
Yeah.
He's going to get to just play the perimeter, which he's a mismatch on. And then Giannis becomes a mismatch at the rim. And so now you've got, sort of diving.
Your perimeter shooter.
Driving cut. Yeah. I mean, I sort of buy
feels
that.
like a wealth of riches in San Antonio, but hey, it's a strategic move. Say the trade again, the proposed trade.
Harrison Barnes, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sochan, and then, like I said, a
bunch of picks.
First round pick. It's a 2025 first to 2026, first to 2028, first to 2030 first, and a 2031 first round swap.
You're not replacing Giannis's offense. You're not replacing offensively what you're losing, even with the picks. I
love it for San Antonio. I love it for San Antonio.
I love that for San Antonio. And if I love it, if I absolutely adore it for one team, then why would I do it for the other team? Yeah. I don't know, Fitz, if I am poo-pooing all of these potential trades because I don't think that they're good enough, or if it's because I just truly, in my heart of hearts, don't believe that Giannis is going to get traded. Because I don't think that Giannis is going to get traded unless he is so unhappy that the Bucks have no choice but to trade him. But I don't think that's where he's at. All
right, so how about this one? Detroit gets aggressive, knowing the rest of the East seems to be up against it. Okay. Detroit gets Giannis. They give up Tobias Harris, Jaden Ivey, Isaiah Stewart, and then a 27, 29, and 31 first-round pick. So 3 picks, 3 players, Giannis.
That's a little bit more intriguing. How old is Tobias Harris at this point?
30, early 30s. I'll have to look at it. I think he's 31 or 32.
The Jaden Ivey of this is incredibly intriguing because you're bringing in one of the Pistons' leading scorers. He's young. He's about 23, 24 years old. That is what I would be looking for if I'm the Bucks. So again, this is only if Giannis is so unhappy that they have no choice. But I think what the Bucks would need to do is go younger and find that future young certified scorer. So the Jaden Ivey of this is intriguing.
Yeah, I think if they believe Ivy is a superstar.
But it's my favorite. That's my favorite proposal so far.
All right, now can I get you really just we're going to get through this one. All right. The Golden State Warriors get Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Los Angeles Lakers get Draymond Green and Daniel Gafford. The Dallas Mavericks get Gabe Vincent and a first round and a second round pick. And then the Bucks finally get through all of this. Austin Reeves, Podzemski, Jonathan Kumingas sign and trade, I guess. Trace Jackson Davis and Maxi Kleber and 29, 31, and a 30. I'm not doing this. It's too many moving parts, Caroline. I can't feel good about any of this.
Yeah, look, it might be a great trade. I just can't follow it. If I need a degree in neurophysics to follow a trade, then I'm out. I'm sorry. No, I can't do it.
Yeah, at the end of the day,
and Austin Reeves is no Giannis.
Yeah, no, Austin Reeves. That's exactly it. If you're walking with Austin Reeves, look, I like the Lakers getting Draymond for drama purposes. Like, hey, cool, that's cute. But when you start getting 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know. The simplest answer here is Milwaukee keeps their superstar and finds a way to keep him happy. I just want to see Giannis win a championship, and I want to see Giannis stay in Milwaukee. And unfortunately, I cannot have my cake and eat it too. I'm not sure he can win a championship in Milwaukee, and I'm not sure he should go anywhere else. So we're all just stuck with Giannis, just with one championship, which is nothing to shake a stick at, but we end up just sort of stuck. You know who's not stuck? Notre Dame fans. It was a big day yesterday for Notre Dame. Fans everywhere rejoicing. We'll tell you why on Yahoo Sports Daily next.
Williams down the sideline. Kyron Williams, front goal. This time in the end zone. And Xavier Watts, he's going to take it coast to coast.
Look at that. For the first time ever, Notre Dame using a sports-specific logo. The leprechaun carrying the rock. Like that football guy. That's the beginning. They're going to have different logos for each of their respective teams. Yahoo Sports Daily, Caroline Fenton, I'm Jason Fitz. I got to admit, Caroline, I love this. I love everything about this. The angry leprechaun carrying the football is a beautiful thing.
I love this. I mean, I love Notre Dame's logo to begin with. Like, I love the little fighting leprechaun, like why I oughta with his fists up. But I love the sports-specific logo, and I love that they didn't stray incredibly far from the original logo, right? Obviously, his fists aren't up, but it's just the same logo, add a rock, there you go. You know, Western Kentucky did this a couple of years ago, Western Kentucky football. Their logo is just like a big, like red blob kind of. And on each of the football helmets, each position had its own little red blob mascot doing what that position does. Offensive lineman had the blob with the hands in the dirt, and the quarterback had a blob dropping back to throw a football. And I thought it was so cute, and I thought it was so creative. And I love this from Notre Dame. One of the few logo redesigns that's actually just as good, if not better than the OG.
I mean, look, for me, I'm just going to be honest. I love redesigns, right? And so it got us thinking, what other logos would we redesign? Now, this is what I'm going to get murdered for this, just absolutely killed. I am a fan of a football team that has basically never changed their logo. The Raiders have had the same logo, essentially small minor tweaks that most people wouldn't notice from the beginning. So what does that mean? Every time there's a throwback jersey, I don't need to buy it. Every time there's a throwback shirt, Don't need it. It's the same. Every time there's an alt jersey, okay, what you change the color to silver and the number, like, woo! I mean, the opportunity to go out and get excited about other stuff just isn't there. And I know, Raiders fans kill me for it all the time because it's timeless, it's classic, it doesn't need anything. I don't know, the occasional redesign to be funny. Like, I'd like a little older. Give me like a matte black chrome finish. Like, give me matte black, all black Raiders jerseys with chrome numbers on them for one game. And I would go buy all of that gear. Everything that they put out. They could put out hoodies, hats, sunglasses, all of it. I would buy all of it if they would just give me a basic, simple redesign. Like, I like these sort of redesigns that we get to see.
See, I could do without alternates. Honestly, there's more bad alternates than there are good. Some alternates, like when they're good, they are so good. But like Tennessee, I don't need your smoky gray alternate. It's ugly. It doesn't look
Oh, God,
good.
I love the smoky gray. I love the smoky
Smokies
gray.
are so bad. But like, look, that Raiders logo is so iconic. Give me a throwback every single day of the week. I love throwback uniforms, throwback logos, throwback colorways, throwbacks to anything. I wish but we could go back to the college football age of all of the little mascots wearing little sailor hats. It was so cute.
Okay,
we can go back to that.
We don't need sailor hats. That's not throwback. That's just a logo. Like, it's the 60s, it's the 70s. Like, again, little tweaks, but nothing anybody notices. It just is what it. Like, I want things to change. Okay, look, the logo changes were all over social media, by the way, because people were freaking out about Cracker Barrel. Like, look, I liked Cracker Barrel. I like the new logo. I prefer the new logo to the old logo. Like, I don't need the guy sitting next to the barrel.
You're taking the character away. Oh, it's the old logo is so iconic. And I think about, growing up and driving to my grandparents' house, going through the boonies, stopping at a Cracker Barrel, getting some biscuits and gravy and grits and beans and greens. And look, that man just looks so sweet and lovely and inviting. It has character. It tells a story. This new one is generic and lifeless, has no personality. Who's going to invite me into Cracker Barrel when I go? Because he's gone.
It's clean.
It's clean.
That's clean. Look,
boring.
As somebody, I love on a road trip, secret road trip, just go order a side of biscuits and apple butter, because they give you the hot biscuits in a big case, and there's a bunch of them, and they give you a massive side of apple butter. Just set it in your lap,
Biscuits
and you just
so
dip the whole time. I mean, that's just a Cracker Barrel is life. I love Cracker Barrel. I happen to love the new logo. I just, look, at some point, we can acknowledge that new logos can be good. Like, minor league baseball teams do better logos. Like, it's a simple fact. Minor league baseball team, the Disco Turkeys, the Carolina Disco Turkeys. Come on.
It's outstanding. I mean, look at that logo. Look at him. Like, he is groovy and funky and stylish. He's sparkly. He's colorful. But the Carolina Disco Turkeys, a la the Cracker Barrel logo redesign, they threw an idea out there. What if we just slapped a blue rectangle with disco turkeys in the middle of it? Would you like that, huh? Take all the character away from it? Like, look at that. Look how cool he is. Like, I want to hang out with that disco turkey. Logos need character. They need a little bit of razzle dazzle, a little pizzazz.
I think at the end of the day, like, we sometimes forget, like, everybody wants the throwbacks. You mentioned them earlier. Everybody wants the throwbacks for the Patriots, for example, the throwbacks for the Broncos, like the throwbacks for the Buccaneers. The creamsicles for the Buccaneers are elite, but the creamsicles were made fun of. They were mocked relentlessly in the 80s. Everybody made fun of that in the time. So it took the redesign to actually appreciate the original history of it. Like,
we also used lead paint in the 80s.
Okay. But
not everybody was right in the 80s.
But sometimes you have to change things to then turn around and make them better. Like, there are some, I think, some modern logos that could use redesigns. Like, I think the Jags current logo has always sucked. I think the Titans logo has always sucked. Like, you go across the board, there's just some bad logos.
Tennessee Oilers, Houston Oilers oil derrick was great. And the baby blue and red and white. Ooh, chef's kiss. Those are way better than the Titans uniforms now.
100%, but there's no oil in Tennessee, so you can't do anything about the fact that
there's no lakes in Los Angeles. There's no jazz music in Utah.
That's fair.
You don't need mascots to make sense.
The Utah Jazz is one of the worst names. I mean, nobody's like, I'm going to go on a jazz retreat through the middle of Utah. I'll give you that. All right. What about the St. Louis Blues? Like, St. Louis Blues did a full set of new logos for 25-26. They updated the blue note. Like, I like that.
This.
That's nice.
And
See?
it's very similar to the blue note, but the redesign is a throwback. Like, it's going back to some of the heritage classics that the Blues used to wear back in the day. But like, this is the same logo that the Blues have always had. They're just making a couple of minor tweaks, and it's a different color blue and a different color yellow, and it's one that everybody loves. And there was also some alternate Blues logos that they threw in there. And as a Blues fan, I grew up in St. Louis. I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit, like, oh, great, alternate logos. They were awesome. It was like a music note with the arch in it, and several different cool little clever and creative motifs that I love. I love when a logo is creative and has kind of some hidden meaning.
What about the Boston Bruins? The Bruins launched a revamped brand identity for their 100th anniversary. Like, going through, look at that. I love these hype videos for it. Makes it so good. They just kind of put all of them together, and that's what. Is it new? It's different-ish.
Oh, look at the little bear.
They're not using the little.
Exactly the same, but the bear is cute.
No, it's different.
It looks the exact same. That is the exact same jersey. Am I missing something here?
It's a combination of all the different colors of the bee with it's the same thing, but I think they took some different shades, maybe. Different shades.
So at least some new logos get better. The Ravens logo,
awful.
Has the new Ravens logo gotten better?
No, the Ravens have been from the outset. Like, you're the Baltimore Ravens. There had to be something cool you could do, and this is what you did. Like, you just put a bee on the side of a purple bird and flapped it on the hell. Like, no, I'm out on the Ravens logo. The Ravens logo is trash. No offense, Ravens.
The Ravens logo is not the worst in the NFL. Like, the Lions logo, trash. Jags, trash. Titans, trash. The new Rams logo is absolute trash. They took something that was great and they threw a highlighter on it and put it into Microsoft Word.
I want to believe that logo designers have gotten better with modern technology, but then I'm reminded that I've seen the logos for the Vegas Golden Knights, and from day one, those have just been awful. As a guy that has a basement full of Golden Knights stuff, we'll be back Monday, 9 a.m., hanging out with you. Thanks so much for watching Yahoo Sports Daily. Have a great weekend. Come back and see us Monday morning.